Hello and welcome back to the Tyese Show. We are here today with another beautiful guest. She is a singer, songwriter, and also an instrumentalist. Her name is Lynn Chen. Hello, Lynn. Thank you for being on today.
Thank you, Thais. It's great to be here, and thank you for having me on.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. So, Lynn is a singer. I have had the opportunity to listen to her music, and I'm enjoying what I'm hearing thus far. Okay. So, Lynn, let's get started. How did you start singing? And what came first, singing, writing, or playing instruments?
Hmm. I think at a young age, I loved singing. I didn't have any formal training, but I just sang for fun and probably drove my mom crazy. Just always singing, and she'd be like, "Be quiet." But when I was probably 6 or 7, my mom gave me like she wanted me to take piano classes. I
Mhm.
didn't really start fully though until like middle school for like full on piano classes.
Mhm.
Um, but I think it got too intense, got too much. I had to like practice too much and it took too much time. So then I quit after like a few years. Um, but yeah, in regards to singing, um, like I didn't have any formal training, and so um, I think when I first started singing at church, then I think I just fell in love with worship, and yeah, that's a little bit part of like the story, and then I also picked up the guitar at church as well, so that is also kind of how it all began is church.
Mhm. Mhm. So what age about were you then?
um Around high school. Yeah.
Great, Gracie. You were young.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to hear like the story of how it all happened there. Um I don't want to make it too long, but it was all like God's plan because when I went to this like we have this thing called Harvest Crusade.
Mhm.
And it's a huge gathering of people, um, whether you're Christian or not. But it's like a free event that is held in a baseball stadium,
Oh.
and yeah, it's huge.
Mm.
So probably like 10,000 people or more. I don't know, but
Mhm.
um, so it was my first time going to a really big event, and I just thought, wow, this is super cool. And then I was looking down and seeing the people on stage and singing, and everyone was worshiping God. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. And then this is the first time I ever heard God's voice. And he said, right at that moment, he said, "That's what you're going to do for me. You're going to do music for me." And I was like,
Mm.
at that moment, I never heard God's voice before. So I just thought, was that me? Was that me? Like, is is that God?
Right. Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's a
We
lot
all
of
do
us,
that.
right? A lot of us are questioning, like, did I just think that up, you know?
Exactly.
So
Mhm.
then it's been a lifetime of like asking God and just getting confirmation from Him.
Mhm.
But those are like different stories to tell. But yeah, after that, I started really pursuing singing and worshiping God.
And so now, when were you still a teenager at this time?
You mean when I heard God's voice?
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because at that time he said, "That's when you're gonna do music for me." I I didn't play guitar, I didn't sing. So I just thought, how? How are you gonna
Uh-huh.
do that? You know?
Right. Mm-hmm.
But because I did hear from God, I thought, okay, if that's true, then it kind of gave me like the permission to pursue it. Um, Growing up, I didn't have like a lot of support from my parents or family.
Okay. Mhm.
Um, my mom especially was against me pursuing music, and so I felt like it was kind of like being disrespectful to her because she didn't want me to. She used to say that, oh, you know, playing guitar is for like boys, and you shouldn't do that.
Okay, so it was more of a
Hmm.
culture thing. Like, okay.
Yeah.
It was culture and gender roles.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. She said, "Oh, but you can play piano," and
Like,
I
back to that piano, huh, mom?
I know. I I mean, I didn't hate piano, but I just my first love was guitar, and I'll go as far as to say that she hated me playing guitar so much that when I was even younger than that, so around the time I think I was playing piano, my dad got me a guitar, and she threw my guitar away.
Mm-hmm.
Like she didn't, and I was like, "Where did my guitar go?"
Yeah.
She just really
That
didn't
was
want me to
supportive. Your
play
mom wasn't.
guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So how did you end up picking it back up and training?
Um, Again, the love for guitar, it didn't die, and it has been my dad supporting me, and he basically got me a guitar because he said, when I was growing up, um, our family was too poor, so he never got the opportunity to buy a guitar or have his parents buy him a guitar. So
Mm-hmm.
then he said, um, I never want to deprive my children of a dream or the ability to pursue a musical instrument.
Yeah, I
Um,
see. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it
And
was my dad that helped, yeah, do that.
I see. I see. Yeah. We I mean, many of us have to go through something similar um,
Mm,
with our parents,
hmm.
as to the support, whether or not the support is going to be there.
Yeah.
And I was thinking when you said that your mom wasn't supportive, that one reason, I didn't really think about the gender roles. I actually thought that it was that she felt it wasn't stable enough.
Yeah. That's definitely it too.
Like it's a waste. Okay, like it's a waste of time. It's not something that's going to pay the bills.
Yes.
The
Yes.
whole, you'll be a starving artist.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, it's not
Yeah.
concrete enough. That's not a career.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
um, So I thought about that when you were talking, and then it's. I mean, it's wonderful how your dad said, okay, well, it's something that I wanted to do, but not only that, I'm not going to hold my child or children back from dreams, from their
Yeah.
dreams. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's really good. So now, did you? So you pretty much really grew up in a Christian home. You were in church. You know.
We were not always Christian, our family. So I'm originally I was born in Taiwan, but our family went to this country called the Marshall Islands. So
Mm-hmm.
I grew up there, and and then I came to California when I was in around middle school,
Okay.
and yeah, so the whole time we were in Marshall Islands, like we never really went to church, just maybe like a few times for like Christmas. Um, but it wasn't until we came to California and God um, made it possible for us to meet somebody at the park. And this lady was like, "Hey," to my mom, "your son is like around the same age as my son. Hey, would you like to come to church?" And that's how it all started.
That's pretty random. I'm surprised your parents would decide to show up in church based on that.
Well, we didn't really know anyone, and
Mhm.
we didn't have many friends when we came from Marshall Islands. We didn't know anybody, and so my mom thought, "Hey, why not?" You know,
Good, good.
I think it was, and people have told me it was the best decision that she's ever made.
Definitely, definitely. And so you all went as a family, and
Yeah,
so that was her way of bringing of really needing seeing that she needed and that the family needed to
yes,
fellowship with others. And
hmm,
I'm sure God probably spoke to her about that too. So instead of turning the woman down, she said, okay, sure, we'll go, we'll be
yeah,
there.
hmm,
Be there. That was good. That was good.
yeah,
And that was good. Of course, God placing you right in the midst where you
yeah.
need to be for you to fulfill exactly what He wanted you to.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it was perfect timing too because those middle school years were really hard for
Mm,
me.
mm-hmm,
Just imagine, you know, uprooting yourself from all that you knew growing up, and then moving to another country, and then having to figure out how to live there, and then how to assimilate. It was hard times for me.
mm-hmm,
I felt really weird and outcasted, and it was I fell into a lot of depression, and just, yeah, like thoughts of suicide and things like that.
mm-hmm. A lot of identity
Yes.
problems going on. Who am I
Mhm.
to be in this space?
Yeah.
Lacking self awareness. I mean, yeah, that's a very young age. So to be rooted up and moving into, I mean, we're not talking about moving, a couple miles away where the environment is pretty much still familiar, still the same.
Yeah.
We're talking about moving to another country
Yeah.
and a completely different environment, different culture, things are done differently.
Yeah.
School, completely
Mhm.
different, I'm sure.
Yes.
Completely different. Right. Okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, I could definitely see how those could be pretty tough times, for a young person. I mean, as adults, we have problems adjusting,
Yeah.
if we have to move for some reason, we have problems adjusting. So, I mean, for a young person, and you have siblings,
Mhm. I have one brother.
one brother. Okay. Okay. He's older or younger?
He's 10 years younger than me.
Oh,
So
wow.
it
Okay.
was very easy for him because he was, pretty much born in America and went through the school system and everything. So, you know, he's American. So,
Hmm.
um like, it wasn't too hard for him to have to adjust or anything.
Right. Right. Okay. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have been very instrumental, no pun intended, in Christian music because you recently had a single of yours hit number one on the Christian radio chart.
Yes, that has been really. exciting. I don't think I've been number one so far until now, so um, it's pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, all glory to God because I have just been following and being obedient to what He's called me to do.
Hmm.
And but I have to tell you, this whole time, it was kind of reluctant and kind of full of fear because I don't know where it's all gonna go. I don't know where, it's gonna lead either.
Hmm.
So, um, I'm just doing what's in front of me, being faithful, being obedient,
Right.
and I get to see the fruits of that. So I think this is one of the fruits.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. It
Yeah.
definitely is. And you know what it's like. It's like when, God gives us certain talents and abilities, we acquire skills. And, I mean, from there, as long as we are doing what you said, being obedient, which is, I say, is the highest form of praise is to be obedient. Then the steps that He orders for us, we follow those steps, and you will see the fruit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're the seed. You're the seed. You're the fruit. It's a seed is planted in you. He plants those seeds in us. We're of course created in His image. So we are created to create.
Yeah.
So and you're doing an amazing job at that. And
Thank you.
I know that you have to be touching so many lives with your music. And I love the fact that you're a songwriter as well as a singer, as well as playing the guitar. So, in your songwriting, do you know about how many songs you've written thus far?
Mm, maybe like 100.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I haven't counted, and I know I should, but I don't. But I it's been a process to get here. It wasn't
Mm,
it wasn't overnight, which thankfully it wasn't, because God has grown me and built me up this entire time.
mm-hmm.
Like each step of the way, He's like, kind of growing me. And, all the while I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know. I just was like, okay, God, I know this is where you want me to go. And so I'm just going to keep going. And yeah, to not know where it's gonna lead. It's scary. Like, who isn't scared of, like, doing something and you're like, I have no idea what the outcome is gonna be, you know?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people want to have assurance, right?
Right.
Especially when it comes to your life, what you're gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
And but more than anything from the music, what I really care about is the ministry part,
Yes.
because I
Mm-hmm.
want to help people. Um, so that's what I'm doing um, with my music is my I will like go to different places, churches, countries, and I will share my music, and then I will share my testimony. Um, and then I will, basically try to um, ask, like, hey, if there's anybody that wants prayer, or is dealing with these kind of different issues, then we could talk about that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I want to do. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's what I am doing.
Yes. Yes. So you've been traveling and performing at different venues.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I've been going to South Africa, um
Mhm.
yeah, for the past couple years.
Mhm.
And um this year I'm going to go again. Um, possibly going to do that next month in Taiwan. So God is opening doors steadily, but I think He's also um, building up what that ministry looks like, because I know what it looks like in a way, but it's like being formulated as we are going further along.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you when you say that it can be pretty scary not to know where, where this is leading,
Hmm.
you know. Um, and of course, God didn't give us a spirit of fear. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me, you
Yeah.
know. Um, So it's really supposed to be just the opposite. We're not supposed to be afraid, we're supposed to really just, meditate on the word and maintain that relationship, with
Yeah.
God so that we can hear exactly what he's telling us to do. And then it's up to us to be obedient. Um, we just are not able to control things. So
Hmm.
we have to just give it all to him, which is, what you're doing, so just be assured that even though you do not know exactly where it's going, that you have nothing to fear. I mean, even I mean, and I know, um it has been a process. I'm absolutely sure it has been a process, because this is what we go through as Christians.
Yeah.
Nothing is overnight. Nothing is overnight.
Hmm.
And even when we get the call, it's still not like, okay, snap decision. Let a lot of us kind of toy kind of toy and fight, even when we first hear a call on our life, we don't typically make an immediate decision
Yeah.
to be obedient and say, "Oh, okay, I hear you clearly, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to do for you because I know I'm supposed to do it."
Yeah.
A lot of us are kind of back and forth for a while,
I
with
find
God.
the similarity with like King David's story,
Mhm.
because remember when he was young that they called him, or was it Samuel, he was like, you're going to be the next king of Israel. And remember, he was just tending the sheep at that time.
Right.
You know,
Mhm.
and so I mean, the call on his life to be the king, he wasn't the king right away. And so, he went through a process.
Mhm.
But God never wasted those times of, you would think, oh, well, if he's going to be the king, then why is he a shepherd? Why is he, out in the field taking care of sheep? Because he ended up using all of that time out there to, you know, grow his skills, grow his music skills, grow his leadership skills, grow his fighting skills, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
So God didn't waste that time,
Right.
you know? And I just want to speak into people that that was also my life, and encourage people, because if God has called you to do something, or has said something about your life for your purpose, and it's if you don't see anything right now, just because if you're sitting at a desk job, and or you're sitting at home and you're a mom and you feel like, oh, that's my life, like, it doesn't mean that it's over. It's
Mhm.
you will still have God will still um be true to his promise.
Oh,
But
that's right.
like, it's gonna take a time, a process. um so for me, like, even though he told me I was gonna do music for him, it took about tw 10, 15 years before I really did what he called me to do.
Mhm. Mhm.
I was afraid.
I meant that's the story. That's the story with probably 99.9% of us.
Yeah, remember when he called Moses and he said, Moses, and Moses said, "Oh, I'm not good of speech. I can't do it, God, kind of thing. Why don't you call Aaron or something?
Mhm. Right.
um, you know, God said, no, I called you. But it's just gonna take a time and a process of you also wanting it. I think that was something that I kind of dealt with as well because I knew God was calling me to do it, but
Mhm.
then God is not a God that is like, I'm going to force you. You know, we still have free will. We
That's right.
still can choose what we want to do.
Mhm.
And for me, so I actually went into Hollywood first. I got
Mhm.
my bachelor's in TV and film,
Mhm.
and I love I love filmmaking. I just like that. And so I thought, hey, I'm going to use my skills and you know go into the film industry and use that to God's glory. I worked for Hollywood for a while, and it just got so dark, and
Mhm.
I just felt dead spiritually.
Right.
So then I stopped and I didn't do it anymore. Um, And then my parents were like, "Okay, what are you gonna do now with your life?" And then my parents said, maybe you should just go back to school." So that I did because I was being obedient. And so I got my master's in counseling. Um, but after getting the degree, again came back and said, "Hey, remember that thing I told you you're gonna do music for me?"
Right. Mhm.
Are you ready? And I just kept saying to God, God, why are you telling me to do that? I already, I've already like committed my life to like getting this master degree. And now I'm going to, do counseling. And I just want a normal life, God.
Right.
And,
Mhm.
he never
Working
put
9 to 5.
exactly just be like normal, like everybody else.
Right. Mhm.
But he never pushed me. He just waited. He was patient and he kept coming back, and said, "Are you ready now? Are you ready now?" So finally, I said, "Okay, God, this counseling thing is not working out, and it's really frustrating me.
Mm.
So if you really are serious and you want me to do music, then you need to prove it to me." So I asked God,
Mhm.
like
Wow.
like Gideon, you know. I said, "Could if you do these four things," it was like my fleece. "If you do these things, then I know it's you and I will pursue music." So then he made all those things happen in about 3 weeks. And then I was like, oh my goodness.
So wait a minute. You gotta say what these 4 things are.
Okay, I will. I said, I want to go back to school because I don't feel educated enough in music.
Okay.
So then I ended up applying to a worship leader degree, to get a worship leader degree, but included they had like songwriting in there and all this other stuff. So second was I needed to get a job in the area because I wasn't just going to go to school. I needed to earn money. Third was I'm I want a church around that I can go to. And fourth was I need a place to stay. And this is the extra part of it. I said, not only do I need a place to stay, but I need it to be $400 a month.
I've never. My first apartment,
Uh huh.
it was $500 per month.
Okay.
Okay, and you can see the gray hair. So that was a lot of years. You asked for 400. You had
And
some roommates.
I did. I did. It wasn't me by myself.
Right.
But
Mhm.
imagine all of that. He made all of that happen in 3 weeks. So after it all came to pass, then I thought, wow, oh man, God, this is scary.
Mhm.
I'm reminded of that verse when God said to Abraham, "Is anything too hard for me?"
Mhm. Mhm. I don't doubt.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you have done it. You have done it. Um, I want to play a video of yours. Now, the single that hit number one is called Plans.
yeah. Which, by the way, the
And
music video is coming out next week.
okay, great, great. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So since we're not able to play that video, then I'm going to play another one.
Okay. If you do
Okay,
want to, I can send you a link to the new video if you'd like
okay,
later.
okay. All right, no problem. So here's one of the songs that I listened to and saw, watched the video for, and I really like it. We'll bounce to it as well.
Yeah.
And it's called Look to the Star. So everyone look to the star, the pop version. I'm gonna play a bit of it.
Moving too fast, days are passing by. Thoughts of the past living in my mind. Feeling lost and lonely, falling apart. With empty hands left holding our desperate hearts. Where can we turn when living is hard? Where can we fix our eyes in the dark? Look to the stars, look to the stars. There's peace in your heart when you look to the stars. Look to the stars, look to the stars. Wherever you are, you'll find hope in your heart. Look to the stars. Living with joy, eyes are open wide, filled with the love you see in the sky. Beyond comprehension, the Prince of Peace, He is the gift of heaven the world can see. So where can we turn when living is hard? Where can we fix our eyes in the dark? Look to the stars, look to the stars. There's peace in your
Oh, I love
heart.
it. I love it. Yeah, I love it. I'll be listening to that in the car. That's
Yay!
car music, you know what I mean?
That's so
That's that.
cool.
You get to worship while you're driving, bump your head, like, yeah.
So originally, that's a Christmas song.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so that's why there's the pop version and then the Christmas version. So I when I first wrote that song, it was for Christmas, and then I just when I was working with my producer, I was like, that could be like a good pop version, and he was like, let's do it. So then we did two versions.
Nice, nice. I have to go back and hear the Christian version. I mean the Christmas version.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Okay. Okay. So what's one of the largest venues that you've been able to perform?
Probably in South Africa. Probably about 800 people. But right now we have this year we're going to go for a 2,000 seater venue. So it'll be in South Africa again.
Nice, nice.
It's hard to get venues here in the US, because you need a lot of money.
Oh, okay.
to rent
Okay.
out these places. So it's easier, in other countries.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's a lot less expensive in South Africa.
Yeah.
So what would be about the cost of a 2,000 seater event there where you're looking?
Probably like $3,000 or something.
$3,000,
Yeah, I think so. 3,000 or 5,000, I forgot.
3 to 5,000
Mhm.
US dollars. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it would be much more here. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be a lot more here.
Yeah. And a lot of times these events you don't really want to charge. You feel bad to ask people to pay a cover fee. So same thing in South Africa. A lot of people in South Africa don't are not, well off. So it's easier for us to go to like South Africa and ask for donations and then ask for churches to support us, the churches that we partner with, and help cover the cost that way.
I see. I see. So is it ever um revival like?
That's what I'm going for. That's what I really, really want. My friend that I partner with, he also is an artist as well. He's from originally from South Africa, and and I met in Nashville. Um, at a Christian artist event, and he said, "Hey, you should come into South Africa." So I said, "Okay, cool." And that's how we first started, and but now he lives in U.S. and he lives in North Carolina. But yeah, it's something that he's felt called to do, which is um, bring people together, do concerts and meetings, and so I definitely love like revival meetings, and that's what I'm aiming for. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and it's an event for a couple of hours.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I was asking because I think, sometimes revivals can be one day, and then other times, they're going strong for like 3 days. I've seen
Yeah.
I've seen as much as a 7 day revival. You know,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Are
I've
you
never.
talking about the Ashbury one?
I'm not. I'm not positive. I know I've just recently saw it
Oh, okay.
online, so it may be. It may be.
Do you know
Yeah.
the name? Do you know the name of the church or where it was?
No.
No.
I
Okay.
was like scrolling.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because I know the most recent one was called Ashbury, like within the last few years.
Hmm.
Um, but it's funny you talked about revival because I think like last night I was just looking up the Azusa Street revival. I don't know if you've heard of it or not.
Mm-mm.
Oh, but it's one of the biggest revivals. Um, I guess they call it like the revival that brought like the Holy Spirit to like for Pentecostal kind of churches. And it started here
Mm.
in Los Angeles in Azusa Street.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was started by an African American man. I forgot the preacher's name. But I think it went on for like I saw the dates as like what 9 years. Imagine a
Mm.
revival going on for 9 years.
Well, I'm talking about 7 days for 9 years. Mm.
I was like, that is really cool.
Well, how's that for tenacity and living God's plan and purpose for your life? Running a
I
9 year
I
revival.
mean, no wonder they call it, the really big event, in history because they said that people were having healings and different kind of things happen. And I thought, wow, that's so cool. No wonder people keep referencing, that revival. So
Right, right. Mm. Tell us a bit more. Of course, there is a testimony behind this, and you mentioned it. So, tell us a bit more about what about your testimony that you share when you perform.
um I I use a lot of, and I know that you also kind of, you talk about mental health, I think, for your personal, um for your work, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm in
I'd love
yes,
to
I'm in mental health.
I'd love
Yeah,
to get with you.
that's my full time.
Okay. I'd love to get with you on that in the future. But yeah, growing up, I had dealt with a lot of, like I said, depression and thoughts of suicide. And so because of that, um I'll say a little part of my testimony there. So I think it was like in middle school, I was really struggling, and then someone asked us like, "Hey, do you want to go to this retreat at church?" And so I went, and it was at the retreat that I actually um, went on stage and I told everyone I wanted to commit suicide. And after I did that, I someone from the church came up to me and said, "Hey, did you know that God loves you?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "He does?" And he said, "Yeah. And we, as the church, love you too." And that changed everything for me
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because growing up, I didn't feel a lot of love from my parents, my family. And at school, I was getting bullied a lot.
Okay.
So I just thought, what's the point? It's probably easier just to, end things. But I didn't know who I was, my identity. And I didn't know I was the daughter of the king.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know I was his beloved. And when I took that identity on for myself as, you know, the daughter of Christ, and I just completely received that identity and everything changed for me. Um, People were, that knew me in school, they would say, "Hey, you're different. Like what happened?"
Right.
And I couldn't really put my finger on it before, but it was because I just thought to myself, if the God of the universe loves me, I can overcome anything, you know?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If this great God loves me individually, sees me individually, you know, I I didn't have to listen to the bullying anymore or how I was being treated at home and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why for me, it is such a big um, thing that I want to talk about in my songs, in my ministry about identity. And I really care so much for the kids, the children, the youth right now
Mm-hmm.
to also um, have that as well. Because I've walked through that, the enemy wants to steal, kill, and destroy.
Right.
That's the bottom line. And
Mm-hmm.
he's going to be after your children as he was after me, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And if your children don't know who they are, we've seen the repercussions of that, haven't we, in the past few
Exactly.
years? If
Exactly.
they don't know who they are, they're going to turn to social media, they're going to turn to their friends, and they're going to find somebody that is going to tell them who they are, but
Mm-hmm.
they're going to tell them lies, and then they're going to be led astray.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm such a big advocate for identity.
Yes. 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 And God will use people to talk through, to speak to you in the positive manner that you need, in God's love that you need. And that's why that person came to you and said, "Hey, do you know God loves you?" You
Yeah.
know, um, on the opposite end, there's the enemy who will also use people, speak through them, because he knows your future as well as God knows your future.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have people telling us things like, you can't do this, you shouldn't do that, that's not you, you'll never be able to do that,
Yeah.
why don't you do something different? Why
Yeah.
don't you do this instead? Why don't you do that? When you don't get the support, um, especially if there is, which is an emotional attack. It really is.
Yeah.
Um, if you're not getting support, especially if there's even a greater form of neglect, and then we won't know to see ourselves as God God sees us.
Yeah.
We won't think of ourselves as a child of God. We don't know how. That is a learned behavior. It's learned.
Mm-hmm.
So depression, anxiety, PTSDs, from prior traumas, um, obstacles that we've had to overcome, these situations, um, being bullied, not knowing how to respond to those things, and it takes you to a dark place until there's light and someone says, "Hey, you are not who they say you are. You're a child of God. God has a plan for your life,
Yeah.
okay? And you're loved by Him. And there are going to be other people that do not know how to love you because they're going through their own issues, they're going through their own mental challenges,
Yeah.
you know? Um, when it comes to parents, too, sometimes and I meet quite a few parents. um, I have a nonprofit that's a youth mentorship program, and as well in counseling kids. Of course, you get to know their parents, a bit, and their style of parenting.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have parents that seem to be on either end of of these spectrums. One would be that they are not being enough of a parent, they're being more of a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the Bible speaks to that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's definitely frowned upon. And then, as well, the other side is that they want to rule with an iron fist,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
where it's do as I say, not as I do. You don't go outside of that line, or there's consequences to suffer. But there's not, within ruling with an iron fist, is just not enough love.
Yeah.
So a lot of times the children that we see, they are hungry just for someone to listen to them and show an interest in things that they have an interest in.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, like if I have to sit with you and play Roblox, then that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Teach me how to play Roblox. It's that they really just want their parents to show an interest in what they do,
Yeah.
to support them, to be
Mhm.
there, be there if they play, if you put them in football, if you put them in track and field, if you have them playing an instrument, gymnastics, whatever it is, be there. Don't drop them off or have someone else drop them off and I can't make it because of this and this, that, and the other. Be there and be supportive. You know, we need to go back to the days of really like going to school. Going to school to talk to the teachers, see what your child is into. But a lot of it is, sitting and listening and talking to them. Watch a movie with them. You know, we have to make sure that we stay integrated in our children's lives,
Yeah.
in our children's lives. And whether or not I mean, okay, times change, so maybe you think that watching Power Rangers is like, why doesn't my kid like this? Oh, whatever, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so, but so what? Sit and watch Power Rangers with them. You know what I mean? Whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
do the thing. I had one of my little girls. She likes to watch the videos where the person is working with slime, like on YouTube. Like somebody's,
Yeah.
I mean, they're creating slime. They're just putting different types of slime together, and they pour in little like sprinkle type stuff and make it different colors, and they're putting stars in it and all the stuff in it. And I'm sitting there, and in my mind, I'm thinking, why does she find it entertaining? However, if the parent or parents won't sit and do that with them, you form it's a
Mm.
detachment, and so that's all.
Yeah.
That's all that It's not. We make it rocket science raising kids, and it's really not. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's not
Yeah.
rocket science. They need to be heard, and and if not, then we have adults that are growing up and still have not been able to uh had the chance to really address these issues from childhood,
Yeah.
and so, but finding God is the best thing, you know for you, the best thing that any of us can do,
Mhm.
because he cannot lie and he will never leave us or forsake us.
Yeah.
So um moving on, I was listening to another song of yours, You're Still With Me.
Mm. I filmed that in South Africa last year.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I see the different scenes, your YouTube channel, for
Mhm.
that video, and I love it. So um for for the audience, speak some of the lines from that for us.
Um, yeah, so the song "You're Still With Me," it comes from, I think, a place for me where I felt, down or something, and
Hmm.
the Bible says, like, wherever we go, God will be with us, whether I'm up or down in the depths, he's still with us. And so that's kind of where the inspiration came from.
Hmm.
And the bridge is my favorite part. So it says, when I can't see your light and all hope is out of sight, I'll believing in your spirit in me.
Hmm.
And it's like, even when we can't see anything, like, we still know that God is there. He's still with us, even in the darkest times. I went through some parts where I couldn't even look at God because I thought, you know, he had abandoned me or I maybe abandoned him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And even those times I couldn't really walk because I thought, you know, being in those times was even worse than not being with God. Like being with God is better, and just facing it, facing what it is, what the issue is, what
Mm-hmm.
you think is the hard part, and just confronting it and not hiding or running away from it. So that's the gist of what the song is about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a beautiful song, and you're very lyrically inclined, and also able to play instruments, and your voice is so, I mean, you sing with passion, you can hear it, and then you have this crystal clear voice. Am I starting to sound like somebody from an American Idol judge or something?
No, no, no. I'm glad that you're saying that because I don't think that of myself. So it's good to hear what other people think.
Yes, yes. And there are about 9,800 some odd people that agree, because as your followers count on YouTube, on the channel. And I also, I did subscribe, so I know when new music is coming out. I
Thank
was
you. Yeah.
notification.
Yay. You're going to really love this new video coming out for
So
plans.
okay,
It's going to be really, really cool.
okay. That was shot in South Africa as well, or?
No, it was shot in California, but it looks like I am in Israel or something.
Oh, okay, okay. You got it.
So
Okay,
you're gonna check it out and see.
nice, nice. You got a good production team.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. Again, going back to what I said earlier, God doesn't waste your gifts and talents.
Mhm.
Um, so, I was always interested, right, to do, film or TV, back then, right? So now he uses me and my music, and I am the one creating the videos.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like, you know, label coming and telling me what I have to do in my videos. Like I'm the one to create and design these videos. So
Mm-hmm. 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 That's how it works. That's how it works. Not, I love that he will not waste your gifts and talents. And
yeah,
hindsight being 2020, you start to realize how your journey is unfolding the
yeah,
way that it is, because you're like, well, wait a minute, yeah, I did go to school for film.
yeah,
And
exactly.
now you get to use it. But
Yeah,
you get to use that gift to glorify God.
yes,
you know your voice, you get to
mm-hmm,
use it to glorify God. That was a gift,
yeah,
that was given to you. um and there's I don't know if you ever seen a movie where the person is like battling between secular music, like they're a singer, maybe they're a singer songwriter, and they're battling between the secular music
mm,
and gospel music, and Christian music. So, um, and they'll be within this fight, within themselves as to what they should do,
yeah,
especially since traditionally secular music has paid the most money, but at the
yeah,
same time, you're typically under the thumb of a record label,
yeah,
so but we're in this huge shift where you can be a gospel artist, a full-fledged gospel artist,
yeah.
and still you get to make good money. And the money, of course, is not, the be all to end all. It's glorifying the Lord. But once again, He will supply all of your needs. He's not going to have you, you know, in a real struggle when you're glorifying Him, when you're using your talents, your skills, and your abilities to glorify Him.
Yeah, I just want to clarify a little bit. I don't get a lot of money, but I have enough. I have fans and family and friends that support me. So a lot of it is through crowdfunding, and that's been how it's been going. And I live my life like a missionary, basically.
Okay. I, I
And
I heard that, with the back and forth performing in South Africa, and
yeah,
yeah, and concerts can be free to the concert goers. Okay.
yeah.
hmm
I wish I could earn more money, but you know what? Maybe it's gonna come down the line. We don't know.
And and it definitely can, because as there is even if it's through YouTube, you
Yeah.
know as you because I mean that's a good following.
Mhm.
um
Yeah.
it's enough of a following that you can start to get paid on YouTube, putting ads or something, something like that. There's so much,
Yeah.
nowadays. We have so many opportunities that weren't there before,
Yeah.
where you can flourish, regardless of being with a record label. You don't have to anymore. There has been so much of a stain, in the record industry.
Yeah.
Um, but no, there's not an artist nowadays that has to even rely on that,
Mhm.
and the true benefit is that people get to hear the gospel. You serve in your mission, your ministry, and people get to hear the word of God through your beautiful voice.
Well, and also the message is not messed up, you know?
Right,
That's
right.
that's that's the key thing is that
Mhm.
it's not watered down if you are, really, really honest with your lyrics, if you know, just proclaim, who God is in your music, like it won't be watered down. So that's what's
Mhm.
cool.
Mhm. Mhm. Yep. Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on to the show. You are touching many lives, and I charge everyone to follow Lynn on her YouTube channel, and that is Freedom Heart, on IG, Freedom Heart LC. And then as well, she has a website address, www.freedom-heart.com. All right. Thank you
Yeah, please
again.
please connect with me, guys. I love to connect with you on all those platforms and hear what you guys think about my music. And if it ever has touched your heart, let me know.
Definitely. That's right. That's right. That's right. Okay. Thanks again for coming on. And everybody, this is Tyese. We are signing out. And you know that you can see us and hear us. Amazon Fire TV, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, and WMEG Radio. MEG stands for Movement Entertainment Group. So you can always find us. Thank you, and God bless everyone.